This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Monday, November 25th, 2024. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
President-elect Trump's cabinet picks are complete, and the Sunday talk shows took on the more controversial choices.
He's just flat out wrong.
I'm Jim Roope.
Gaetz is out, Bondi is in, and D.C. is reacting.
I think President Trump is picking reformers.
I'm Clayton Neville.
Service workers at Charlotte Douglas International Airport are taking a strike vote. I'm Jackie Quinn.
For crimes ranging from missing money to abusing the dead under investigation, funeral homes in multiple states. We'll have the latest.
On Wall Street, Thanksgiving week is here. Stock investors are hoping for a year-end rally after last week's gains. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
Their homes empty while engaged in play. Police are looking into famous athletes being robbed. All ahead on America in the Morning. President-elect Donald Trump has completed his cabinet choices to-do list, and some of the more controversial picks were picked at by members of Congress on the Sunday talk shows. Jim Roope reports.
Seemingly the most controversial of the controversial is the choice of Pete Hegseth as defense secretary. On CBS's Face the Nation yesterday, Democrat Senator Tammy Duckworth pointed out first that Hegseth, while in the military, has never held a command.
He was a platoon leader, I think, once or twice, but he never even commanded a company. And so this is a man who is inordinately unqualified for the position.
She says the Pentagon has 3 million servicemen and women and civilians, has over a $9 billion budget. She also says he's wrong to say that women in our military make fighting more complicated.
The ones who are in those roles have met the same standards as the men and have passed the very rigorous testing. And so he's just flat out wrong.
Republican Senator Rand Paul suggests he's a yes vote on Hegseth because he'll reform the DEI hiring practice at the Pentagon and believes the American people, or most of them, will support that.
If you poll them, will say that they don't think people should be picked based on religion or gender or sexuality. They want people to be picked on merit.
On NBC's Meet the Press, Republican Senator Eric Schmidt says while so many are focusing on allegations that Hegseth sexually assaulted a woman in 2017, they are only allegations, and no charges have ever been brought.
Well, I think that's why we have the confirmation process.
Another controversial pick is Tulsi Gabbard as Director of National Intelligence. Former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley has called Gabbard, quote, a Russian, Iranian, Syrian, Chinese sympathizer, end quote. Senator Schmidt on Meet the Press calls that a slur and an insult.
She served this country honorably. And by the way, she cares deeply about our Constitution, making sure people aren't being targeted by these intelligence agencies.
Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie said on ABC's This Week, big picture, a number of the nominees are quite good. Doug Burgum, governor of North Dakota, as Secretary of the Interior. Brooke Rollins, a former White House aide in the first Trump administration, for Secretary of Agriculture. And about Scott Bessent, a hedge fund manager, as Treasury Secretary.
I don't know Bessent, so I don't want to say. Certainly he's a mainstream type of choice. He's a Wall Street guy who's being put in by a Republican president.
What do the American people think? A CBS poll out yesterday shows 60% approve of how Mr. Trump is preparing and handling his presidential transition. I'm Jim Roope.
Washington, D.C. is reacting to Matt Gaetz dropping out of consideration as the president-elect's cabinet pick for Attorney General. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
Former Congressman and Trump ally Matt Gaetz is out as Trump's pick for AG after he withdrew his name amid strong speculation that he would not get confirmed. Pam Bondi is in, although she hasn't been confirmed yet. On the Sunday talk shows, politicians sounded off. California Democratic Senator-elect Adam Schiff told NBC's Meet the Press the American people deserve to see the Ethics Committee report surrounding an investigation into claims that Gaetz had sex with an underage girl.
The taxpayers paid for that analysis and that report. I think they have a right to see it.
Schiff told NBC the reports need to be made public.
I don't think that when someone decides to avoid the public accountability, they simply leave Congress and make it all go away.
Politicians on both sides of the aisle say there was not a path to confirmation for Gaetz. Trump's second pick is Pam Bondi.
Pam has taken on the tough fights. She took on drug trafficking. She took on human trafficking. She's a tough career prosecutor. She's smart. She's tough. It's a great pick.
Missouri Republican Senator Eric Schmidt told Meet the Press the Justice Department is ripe for reform.
I think President Trump is picking reformers for these cabinet positions. He campaigned on that, and he's delivering on that promise.
Democratic Senator Amy Klobuchar was on ABC's This Week.
Pam Bondi will have a hearing and will be able to make her views clear. I think the things that I look at is someone competent? And are they going to uphold the law?
As for Gaetz, it's not clear what's next for him other than not being in Congress next year. He said in a statement that he'll still be in the fight, but it will be from a new perch. In Florida, the Secretary of State not wasting any time announcing the special primary election to fill Gaetz' seat will be on January 28th, with the special general election set for April 1st. I'm Clayton Neville.
Today's top stories are brought to you by Sleep Number. Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed? It's the only bed that lets you make each side firmer or softer whenever you want. Save 40% on the Sleep Number Special Edition smart bed. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com. Could striking airport workers impact Thanksgiving travel? When America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Weather providing some travel impacts. As we approach Thanksgiving, here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
As we get underway with this holiday week, we are looking at two storm systems that will cause some traveling impacts for those getting an early start. The first of these systems is moving through the Great Lakes and continuing into the east later today and tonight. There'll be rain moving through southern Wisconsin and eastern Illinois, eastward through Michigan, and then southward into Ohio, with showers reaching into the western portions of Pennsylvania and New York. Farther south, showers will develop along a cold front this afternoon from eastern Texas into Tennessee and Kentucky. These showers will continue to enhance tonight, with thunderstorms moving through Louisiana into Alabama, and rain and showers will also continue eastward into the Mid-Atlantic and northward to New England. Ahead of that boundary, it is going to be quite mild from southeast Texas into the Ohio Valley and continuing into the Mid-Atlantic, with highs in the 50s and 60s in the north and 70s and 80s in the south. That's about 10 to 20 degrees above the historical average. Meanwhile, on the northern side of the storm, there'll be some snow through northeast Minnesota and northern Wisconsin and northern Michigan. A few inches of snow will be possible with some slick roads. The second storm will be moving into the west around central California. Some heavier rain for the middle part of the state, but also a pile of snow in the southern Sierra Nevada, and snow will become heavy late today and tonight with 1 to 2 feet possible in some higher elevations and several more feet Tuesday into Tuesday night. That's the weather across America. Fresno, California will have cloudy skies today with some rain at times and a high of 59. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania will have some sun followed by clouds and a shower late in the day and a high of 52. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. With bad weather, a strong possibility for some travelers around Thanksgiving Day, and packed roads an issue for many. In Charlotte, there's serious concern about a possible walkout by service workers at one of the nation's busier airports. Correspondent Jackie Quinn reports.
The airport workers employed by ABM and Prospect Airport Services are considering staging a one-day strike during the Thanksgiving travel period to protest low wages and poor working conditions. These are the people who clean the insides of planes, remove trash, and help passengers who are in wheelchairs. One woman who works as a trash truck driver says it's a tough decision to strike and lose a day's pay, but she says they don't get sick leave or vacation time. Charlotte Douglas International Airport is expecting more than 1 million passengers over the Thanksgiving travel period. I'm Jackie Quinn.
In Georgia, authorities are investigating after cremated remains and other personal items were found in an abandoned and burned-out funeral home in the Atlanta suburb of Marietta, where they're looking into cases of missing customers' money. Also from Colorado, correspondent Norman Hall reports the owners of 2 Centennial State funeral homes have pled guilty to numerous charges, including misusing pandemic relief funds and corpse abuse, for letting nearly 200 bodies decay in a room temperature building.
According to charges, John and Carrie Hallford, who owned the Return to Nature funeral home, began storing bodies in a decrepit building near Colorado Springs as far back as 2019 and gave families dry concrete in place of cremated remains. Plea deals call for restitution for John Halford to receive a 20-year prison sentence and Carrie Halford to receive 15 to 20 years in prison. Prosecutors say the Halfords used customers' money and nearly $900,000 in pandemic relief funds to buy luxury items, including laser body sculpting, fancy cars, air travel, and cryptocurrency. I'm Norman Hall.
In sports, from the NFL Sunday Night Football, the Eagles beat the Rams 37-20. Retail credit cards soar to a 35% interest rate. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments has a team of specialists in investing, financial planning, estate planning, and more. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning for Thanksgiving week trading. It's holiday shortened. The markets will be closed Thursday and only open a half day on Friday. Just a quick year-to-date check. The markets are soaring. The Dow up 17%, the S&P 500 index up 24%, the Nasdaq up 26% year to date. Investors hoping for a year-end rally on top of that. Some investors, though, are warning markets are very vulnerable to a pullback because they're so high.
It is an area where I'm starting to get concerned. And so we went from just skepticism coming into 2024 to a lot of optimism going into 2025. Don't want to be alarmist, but that's what you see around major market tops. Every one of the bear markets we've seen for the last 25 years has started with strategists well above S&P 500 spot levels.
314 Research founder Warren Pies on CNBC. Dozens of retailers jacked up interest rates on their store credit cards ahead of the Federal Reserve interest rate cuts, which started in September. They're trying to protect their profits. TJX Companies, the parent of TJ Maxx, Marshalls, and Home Goods, took its card from about 32% interest this time last year up to 35%. Allison Josephs is a shopper.
I brought my purchases up and the cashier said to me, "Would you like to save some money by applying for a credit card, a TJ Maxx credit card?" And I said, "Not really." And she said, "But you're going to save a lot. You're going to save 10%. That's $60. And I said, "How much is the APR?" And the APR was something like 35%. It was insane.
Mars out with its holiday lineup of candy. Snickers bars are in the shape of Christmas trees. Holiday mint M&Ms are back. Flush with cash. Well, for Universal and Paramount anyway. Universal's a sister company to CNBC. It's Wicked and Paramount's Gladiator 2. Each had massive box office takes. Final numbers aren't in yet, but necessary since it's been a tough year for movies. Here's Puck's Matt Bellany on CNBC.
The box office is down about 30% this year. This weekend's gigantic, and it's nice. It's like the Barbenheimer effect. There's something for everyone. Wicked could end up doubling what Gladiator 2 does on the opening weekend, but Gladiator 2 will be a slower burn. Older, more male audience. They'll come out over Thanksgiving and through the holidays.
Disney, not to be left out. Moana 2 in select theaters tonight. It'll be just about everywhere on Wednesday. On today's watch list, we get earnings from Zoom Video, Agilent, and Bath & Body Works. And 7-Eleven has 60-cent coffee today and every Monday through the end of the year to celebrate its 60th birthday.
CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, keeping the crooks at bay while athletes play. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. It's happened to Kansas City Chiefs football stars Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Now the NBA is alerting its basketball teams following several break-ins at players' homes. Correspondent Mike Hempen reports.
The league has sent a memo to team officials following reports of recent burglaries of dwellings owned by Bucks forward Bobby Portis, Timberwolves guard Mike Conley Jr., and Kansas City Chiefs teammates Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. The NBA says the FBI has connected some burglaries to transnational South American theft groups that are reportedly well-organized, sophisticated rings that use advanced techniques and technologies. The NBA memo says the theft rings are mainly focused on cash and items that can be resold on the black market, such as jewelry, watches, and luxury bags. I'm Mike Hempen.
It's an ordinance on the books that dates back nearly 117 years, and while it's still legally a crime in 16 states, it will no longer be one in New York. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports on the abolishment of the Empire State's cheating spouse law.
Governor Kathy Hochul signed a bill repealing a more than century-old law in New York that made adultery a crime. The adulterer could have gone to jail for 3 months. Hochul says these matters should be handled by the individuals involved and not the criminal justice system. Bans on adultery are actually law in several states and were enacted to make it harder to get a divorce at a time when proving a spouse cheated was the only way to get a legal separation. Charges have been rare and convictions even rarer. According to a New York Times article, the state's law was first used a few weeks after it went into effect in 1907. A married man and a 25-year-old woman were arrested. I'm Ed Donahue.
America in the Morning for Monday, November 25th, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay. Senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour,
Donald Trump has named more of his choices for key spots in his second term in office. I'm Jackie Quinn.
Reaction to the approval of a controversial school curriculum in Texas. I'm Clayton Neville.
NATO and Ukraine will hold emergency talks after Russia used a new hypersonic missile. Sagar Magani, Washington.
A bomb cyclone that hit the West Coast continues to wreak havoc. Very challenging circumstances. I'm Julie Walker.
A civil jury in Ireland finds mixed martial arts fighter Conor McGregor assaulted a woman in a hotel. I'm Ed Donahue.
Wicked and Gladiator ruled the box office this past weekend. I'm Kevin Carr.
Back after these messages. America in the Morning continues. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy with the nation's forecast.
Another storm is moving into the west around central California this time. It will have another significant stream of moisture associated with it, and it's going to provide some heavy rain for the middle part of the state, but also a pile of snow for the southern Sierra Nevada. The snow will become heavier late today and tonight with 1 to 2 feet possible in some higher elevations, and several more feet can fall into Tuesday night. Farther north, there'll be some showers in Northern California into Oregon and parts of Washington with rain and snow showers through Nevada into southern Idaho, Utah, and Colorado. Another storm on the weather map today is moving through the Great Lakes and continuing into the east later today and tonight. There will be some rain moving through southern Wisconsin and eastern Illinois, eastward through Michigan and southward into Ohio, with showers reaching into the western portions of Pennsylvania and New York. Farther south along a cold front with that system, there'll be some showers developing this afternoon from eastern Texas into Tennessee and Kentucky. And these southern showers will enhance tonight with thunderstorms developing and moving through Louisiana into Alabama. Rain showers will continue eastward into the middle Atlantic and then northward into New England. Quite mild from southeast Texas into the Ohio Valley and continuing into the middle Atlantic with highs in the 50s and 60s in the north and 70s and 80s farther south. This is about 10 to 20 degrees above the historical average. Meanwhile, on the northern side of the storm, there'll be snow through northeast Minnesota into northern Wisconsin and northern Michigan. This will lead to a few inches of snow, and some areas could see some slick roads. Just behind it, it's going to be much more tranquil but colder from eastern Montana into Wyoming, and then continuing into the Dakotas, and then southward into the Central Plains and most of Texas. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. Over the weekend, President-elect Donald Trump continued to fill out his second-term cabinet, rounding out his top 15 positions, which included a number of loyalists to fill key posts, which stands in contrast to his first term as president in 2016. Correspondent Jackie Quinn reports.
It appears former President Trump is turning to people who were his strongest backers during the campaign.
This is the greatest team. I've been able to play on a lot of teams, San Diego, Washington, Denver. But this is the greatest team because we have the opportunity to make a generational impact. Us together. See, revitalization doesn't have a color. It doesn't have a party. Revitalization starts in the heart of every man.
Scott Turner is a former NFL player and a former White House aide who's been picked to serve as Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. In Trump's previous term, Turner ran the White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council, and the former president credits him with helping to transform some of the country's most distressed communities. Over the weekend, he named former White House aide Brooke Rollins to be his agriculture secretary. She was domestic policy chief during his first term, and the 52-year-old Rollins holds a degree in agricultural development. He's also tapped conservatives who align with the Project 2025 roadmap. Russell Vogt in the Office of Management and Budget, Tom Homan as border czar, and immigration hardliner Stephen Miller for deputy chief of policy.
The cartels are gone. The criminal migrants are gone. The gangs are gone. America is for Americans and Americans only. One man. And that man, ladies and gentlemen, that man took a bullet for you. He took a bullet for democracy.
Other picks include Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for Health and Human Services and Fox News Channel host Pete Hegseth as Defense Secretary. Some of these nominations will require Senate approval. I'm Jackie Quinn.
A controversial school curriculum is approved by education leaders in Texas. Correspondent Clayton Neville has details.
The Bluebonnet curriculum was officially approved at the Texas State Board of Education meeting late last week.
8-7, the motion passes. Bluebonnet will be added to the approved list.
The curriculum proposed by the Texas Education Agency is expected to become available in the spring. It could start as early as next school year, but the curriculum is not mandatory. If a district doesn't want to use it, it doesn't have to. The controversy surrounds what critics say is a heavy amount of biblical teachings that they believe is biased toward Christianity in the curriculum. Jonathan Covey with the group Texas Values backs the lessons and says the religious factor is really not an issue in Texas.
Some school districts can make contextually relevant references to religion in line with past history. With this background in mind, it's clear that the Establishment Clause does not demand strict governmental neutrality towards religion. In fact, it has always been understood that religion has a place in American civic society.
Some board members, though, couldn't get past the biblical references.
Had it not been for the Christian bias in this content, I do really find value in how a lot of these lessons were laid out.
Board member Marissa Perez-Diaz.
It's been said multiple times that this is it's a biblical curriculum. While I absolutely agree that there is Christian bias in this, there are other faiths recognized in this content. However, I will say I still feel that in terms of how lessons are being taught, there are ways to separate the moral of the lesson from religious teachings. And so for that reason, I still stand against Bluebonnet.
Republican state lawmakers are applauding the board's approval. Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick posted on social media that the vote will ensure all students get appropriate grade level instruction and called it an important step to boosting student outcomes statewide. I'm Clayton Neville.
The Secretary General of NATO met with President-elect Donald Trump in Florida to discuss the current situation in Ukraine and global security issues. This comes as the war, which started over 1,000 days ago between Moscow and Kyiv, intensifies, and reports that Ukraine has lost some of the ground it took from Russia in their Kursk region. Kyiv launched a UK-made weapon that killed both Russian and North Korean troops behind Kremlin lines. Russia launched a ballistic missile against Ukraine. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani has more on the story.
With a thin smile, Russian President Vladimir Putin says no one in the world has such weapons like the Oreshnik, an intermediate-range ballistic missile he says moves too fast for Western air defenses to stop. His Strategic Missile Forces chief says the Oreshnik can hit targets across Europe and be fitted with nuclear or conventional warheads. Putin says Russia will start producing more of the missiles.
We're not on the brink of World War III.
But Angela Stent, who is America's top intelligence officer for Russia, warns against being intimidated by Moscow's threats.
I think what the Russians are trying to do is to try and intimidate the Ukrainians and their Western backers from pushing back any further and to gain as much as they can for the next 60 days until the inauguration of Donald Trump.
Still, European officials do worry the war is escalating. And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is urging the West to make Putin really afraid of the consequences he might face. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Among the stories we're covering next, sorority party turns deadly, defeat for this MMA star, and student's AI completed assignment results in lawsuit. Those stories and more when America in the Morning returns after these messages. Welcome back. Here with America in the Morning. I'm John Trout. From Central California to the Canadian border, the Pacific Northwest is still dealing with the effects of a bomb cyclone storm that caused power outages and landslides. Correspondent Julie Walker reports.
The bomb cyclone that hit the West Coast continues to wreak havoc, with tens of thousands still without power.
I'm hearing that the folks that I work with, they're all out of power as well, or folks are working to get things restored. So I've been able to take care of our kiddo during the day, and my husband's working. We're here at the senior center and getting power and charged and things like that.
Fierce winds toppled trees onto roads, vehicles, and homes, while record rain and even snow led to landslides and flooding.
Our concern is that while this property may be okay, the earth between it and the road below is slipping, and the mudslide is affecting downhill properties.
In Issaquah, Washington, hundreds without power went to a senior center, including Melissa Tryon, who had to charge her motorized wheelchair.
The next big purchase I make is going to be a large battery backup. So I don't want to be in this position anymore.
Mayor Mary Lou Pauley says it's been difficult.
It's been a strange couple of days, especially around 4:30 when it gets dark and everything goes really quiet. I'm pretty proud of how the community's holding up so far. It's been, 3-4 days, very challenging circumstances, but people are helping people and being very kind and staying home and staying off roads that are closed.
PSC blames the storm and says some residents won't get back power until Monday. The bomb cyclone arrived in the Pacific Northwest Tuesday and is responsible for killing 2 people. I'm Julie Walker.
There's serious trouble facing one of the nation's Ivy League schools after a 20-year-old student died when he drowned after attending an off-campus party. Authorities at Dartmouth University say Juan Zhang was at a sorority party where underage people were served alcohol supplied by Zhang's fraternity. On the night of the party, several attendees went swimming in the Connecticut River, but Zhang could not swim and was found dead in the river the next day. 2 members of the fraternity now face charges of supplying alcohol to minors. Zhang's fraternity, Beta Alpha Omega, was already on alcohol probation at the time. Both that fraternity and the Alpha Phi sorority have been suspended by Dartmouth. America in the Morning continues. A rare defeat for MMA star Conor McGregor, but this one didn't happen in the ring. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports on the fighter's loss in an Ireland court.
Nikita Hand claimed she was brutally raped and battered in a hotel penthouse in Dublin in 2018. The jury awarded her $250,000.
I have no words. It's unbelievable.
McGregor testified he never forced Hand to do anything against her will and said she fabricated the allegations after the two had consensual sex. McGregor's lawyer called her a gold digger.
To all the victims of sexual assault, I hope my story is a reminder that no matter how afraid you might be, speak up, you have a voice, and keep on fighting for justice.
Hand's lawyers told jurors McGregor was angry about a fight he had lost 2 months earlier, and he took it out on her.
What do you think?
What do you have to say? Say sorry for what has happened?
McGregor did not speak as he left court, but on X said he would appeal the verdict and the modest award. I'm Ed Donahue.
A federal judge has ruled that a Massachusetts high school student that used AI to complete an assignment received a fair punishment from the school district despite his parents suing the school. Here's Chuck Palm with that in today's Tech Report.
The parents of a Massachusetts high schooler have sued the district in order to get their son's grade raised after he cheated using AI to generate a paper. A federal judge ruled that the Massachusetts school was likely within its rights to discipline a student who used generative artificial intelligence to complete the assignment. Dale and Jennifer Harris, the student's parents, sued the town of Hingham School Committee earlier this year, arguing that the high school policies prohibiting academic dishonesty did not explicitly say that students couldn't use AI. Another student who partnered with the plaintiff's son on the project was also disciplined for cheating, but did not sue the school district. Judge Levinson, who reviewed the case, wrote that the evidence shows that the students didn't simply use AI to formulate research topics or identify potential sources. Instead, it seems they indiscriminately copied and pasted text that had been generated by Grammarly.com. For more tech stories, follow me on X at Chuck Palm.
Monday Sports is in. Let's get after it with Robert Workman.
NFL Week 12 on Sunday, the Chiefs blew an 11-point lead in the fourth quarter, but squeaked past the Panthers 30-27 to improve to 10-1 on the season. Spencer Schrader, kicking for the injured Harrison Butker, booted his third field goal of the day as time ran out. Patrick Mahomes had 3 TD passes. Coach Andy Reid.
It ended up as a heck of a game there, but there were some good things. There were some good things we could take out of this. Pat had a big day, and then the big scramble at the end.
The Vikings surrendered a 14-point lead in the fourth before tripping the Bears 30-27 in overtime. John Parker Romo kicked the game winner. Cowboys won a wild run over the Commanders 34-26. Dallas returned 2 kicks for touchdowns in the final 3 minutes. The latter an onside kick after Washington had missed the game-tying extra point. Titans topped the Texans 32-27. Will Levis hit Chig Okonkwo for the go-ahead 70-yard catch-and-run TD in the fourth quarter. Tua Tagovailoa threw 4 touchdown passes as the Dolphins rolled over the Patriots. Saquon Barkley had TD runs of 70 and 72 yards as the Eagles ran over the Rams Sunday night. Packers took advantage of Brock Purdy's absence in a rout of the 49ers. Josh Jacobs ran for 3 scores, and the Buccaneers battered Tommy DeVito and the Giants. Lions crushed the Colts. Detroit is 10-1. Coach Dan Campbell.
I would highlight our defense first. I mean, there again, this is, whatever it is, 10 quarters without allowing a touchdown. We talk about all the time, limiting points, play physical style, shut down the run. We were able to do that.
The Broncos rallied past the Raiders, and the Seahawks stymied the Cardinals. Monday night, it's the Ravens at the Chargers. NBA, the Cavaliers ripped the Raptors 122-108. They improved to 17-1 and a perfect 10-0 at home. Celtics trimmed the Timberwolves for their 5th straight win. Clippers sailed past the 76ers for their 5th in a row. Pacers whipped the Wizards. Washington has lost its last 11 games. The Heat held off the Mavericks in overtime, and the Nets nipped the Kings. One game in the NHL, the Maple Leafs shaded Utah, and the new college football playoff poll comes out tomorrow night. That's Monday Sports.
Robert Workman with your check of sports. When we return on America in the Morning, passing of a TV game show legend after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. He hosted a number of TV shows, including The Wheel of Fortune, Scrabble, and Love Connection. Correspondent Margie Zaraletta reports on the passing of Chuck Woolery.
Game show host Chuck Woolery has died in Texas at the age of 83, according to his podcasting partner, Mark Young.
We'll do it in
2 and 2.
Chuck Woolery was known for hosting the TV shows Love Connection and Scrabble, as well as Lingo and Greed. He was the original host of Wheel of Fortune until he demanded a pay raise and was replaced by Pat Sajak. Woolery was inducted into the American TV Game Show Hall of Fame in 2007. He had a short-lived talk show in 1991. After his TV career ended, Woolery co-founded the right-leaning podcast Blunt Force Truth in 2014. Woolery once told the New York Times he was a gun rights activist who hid his politics in Hollywood for fear of retribution. I'm Archie Zaraletta.
2 Korean automakers have announced a massive car recall. Correspondent Mike Hempen has details.
Hyundai and Kia are recalling more than 208,000 vehicles to fix a problem that can cause a loss of drive power, increasing the risk of a crash. The recalls cover various Hyundai and Genesis vehicles, including the Ioniq 5, the Ioniq 6, the GV60 and GV70, and the G80. Also included are some Kia EV6 vehicles. The automakers say a transistor in a charging control unit can be damaged and not charge the 12-volt battery. I'm Mike Hempen.
A huge weekend at the box office with 2 blockbuster films debuting. Our Kevin Carr has the story of the musical fending off the gladiators.
Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo are singing and dancing their way to the top of the box office.
I'm not afraid. It's the wizard who should be afraid of me.
Let's dispense with the overused defying gravity and popular puns, and we can simply say that Wicked was a huge hit this weekend, conjuring $114 million.
This is so much bigger than us.
Playing to an audience that was about 3/4 female, this is the highest grossing opening weekend of a Broadway musical by a mile.
I remember that day. That a slave could take revenge against an emperor.
And number 2 was Ridley Scott's long-awaited Gladiator 2. Countering Wicked, this Roman epic played to a majority male audience and brought in $55 million.
Are you saying Santa Claus has been kidnapped?
Christmas held on to number 3 with Red One, bringing in a reasonable $13 million. According to insiders, the film's box office earnings are just gravy for the action comedy that was originally meant strictly for streaming.
We have devised a plot to assassinate the Führer.
In 4th place was another new film, Bonhoeffer, Pastor, Spy, Assassin. This World War II drama from the studio behind The Sound of Freedom brought in $5 million.
We are Venom.
And rounding out the top 5 was the October holdover Venom, continuing its last dance towards Thanksgiving with $4 million. I'm Kevin Carr.
America in the Morning for Monday, November 25th, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay. Senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.